Good morning, everyone. Welcome to talk 2 in the Creator Stage 4. Apologies to those who are watching online. We still are having technical difficulties, and so we only have the slides on the screen. We are working on it. Hopefully we'll have it for the next talk. But I would like to introduce Blackus on his talk from Easy Wins to Epic Challenges, about the Bounty Hunter Edition. Give everyone a round of applause.
Hey everyone, so I present you a bit of my journey in bug bounty. I tried to select some bugs that were quite surprising in the sense of being very easy or being very difficult. So I will present a couple of fun bugs. So a bit about myself. So I'm doing bug bounty for 7 years now. I did a lot of CTF for 15 years or something like that. And in general, I'm hacking for 18 years now. So that's quite a long time I'm doing that. I'm definitely a web application enjoyer. I love PHP, who doesn't? And I love doing some source code review. I'm definitely not a recon guy, not doing anything like reconnaissance or something like that. I'm just going to main apps and break them, most of the time at least. I really love like complex chain, complex exploit or things like that. And yeah, in my bug bounty journey, I did something around like $2 million across all platforms. And I'm also HackerOne ambassador for France. So yeah, I'm French. That explains my pretty bad English. I'm sorry for that. If something isn't clear, don't hesitate to come later and just ask me. So we'll begin with first customer, Swisscom. So I represent a couple of bugs I found on them. Swisscom is the biggest telco provider in Switzerland. They are doing a lot of things, not only telcos, they're active pretty much everywhere. They decided to open a wildcard bug bounty program in 2016. That was my first bug bounty experience. I started like end of 2016 on them. And that's a pretty good team, to be honest. They're pretty fair, they're pretty kind, good communication with them. They have a very big scope, like millions of IP addresses, so it's pretty cool. And I did something around like $500,000 on them, so yeah, that's quite good. Definitely the bug bounty they decided to open definitely improved their security stuff over time. And yeah, the bugs I'm presenting now are quite old. Definitely they're like pretty much harder stuff now, but still quite some cool bugs. So if some people here are interested by their bug bounty programs, they're outside of any platform, you can just take a pic of the URL. Everything is explained there. So let's talk about first target, which is Swisscom Cockpit. That's the mobile phone manager in Swisscom. That's basically where you can see your subscription and where you can just buy some packs for traveling and things like that. There is a login process on it that is quite particular. It's just you sending your phone number and you receive a SMS token. You need also to fill a CAPTCHA and you're logged in if the code is valid, right? So it definitely manages some serious confidential data, a lot of PII, payments, things like that. You can see everything that is related to subscription on there. So definitely a good target for me. Also, pretty good stuff for us. There is a staging instance on the internet that is like publicly available. Always cool. There might be some stuff that is not published on the production server and things like that. So let's talk about the first bug. I saw that on the staging instance, the SMS token is always 1111, pretty good. The problem is the staging login doesn't work. It always throws some internal server error. so I can't log in with it. And I was like, yeah, maybe that the SMS central repository, it might be like shared with the production system. So I just tried to log in on the production system, then try to log in on the staging system, then use 1111 on production system, and I was logged in. So that was a very simple bug, but definitely a good impact. So let's see a demo. If everything is working well, we should be able to see. Yeah, so I'm just entering a phone number, just trying to sign in, doing the same on the staging instance. And now trying on the prod instance to just input 1111, filling the CAPTCHA, sign in, and I'm signed in. So yeah, pretty easy. That's not video of the real system. I reproduced everything locally. I will share the demo, the demo's videoed and the instances a bit later after the talk. So yeah, this was paid $8,000, which is pretty good because that was super easy. But that had a nice impact for them because I had like PII of every customer there, maybe millions of PII there. So yeah, pretty good. Second bag. So as I said, the login process is pretty easy. You just input your phone number, you submit, then you receive SMS codes that you need to submit with a CAPTCHA. But the process is also setting you 3 encrypted cookies. The first one is a cockpit CAPTCHA text. It definitely, by the name, I guess, it definitely manages CAPTCHA texts. The cockpit MSIS DN key that manages the phone numbers that you input at the first step. And the cockpit SMS token key, which I guess is a PIN code that was received by SMS. So I was like, okay, maybe they are using like the same key for encryption. So I decided to like copy the cockpit SMS token key cookie into the cockpit CAPTCHA text, reload the page, and the PIN code is just leaked into the CAPTCHA. So here it is. That's not very clear because there is some maybe padding issue, but you can see the code there that is 7998. So that's once again an authentication bypass by leaking the SMS PIN token into the CAPTCHA, which is like pretty lame, but pretty good for me. So let's do a small, if I can move that. Here it is. Another demo. So just filling the phone number again, trying to see the cookies, putting the SMS token key into the CAPTCHA text cookie, just reloading, and we get the PIN code into the CAPTCHA, which is RRKB5T. That's a PIN code I received by SMS. So I'm once again logged in with that. So pretty cool, but definitely not as serious as the previous bug, but because it was pretty hard to read the CAPTCHA, you can't really automate the attack, so they decided to pay $3,000 for that. Once again, it was quite an easy bug, so I can complain on the amount, so I decided it might be the time to stop on Cockpit. But no, here is a third bug. Try to log in, input your phone number, but at the time you receive the SMS PIN code, just cancel, and authentication successful. I have no idea why. I suppose they did something bad by patching some of my bugs. Yeah, probably a fail. So they decided to pay $8,000 for that because I just canceled the login process and I was logged in. I suppose you don't expect a demo for that. I mean, that's not really needed, I guess. So for this time, let's really move on to another targets. So Swisscom Worklink is a Swisscom acquisition that was like a company they just bought. I decided to have a check. They were using a completely unknown CMS called Weblication, something in PHP, you know, that triggered me always. So I decided to buy a Weblication license so I can grab the code and turn that into like some source code review. Firstly, I saw that the thing is not using SQL at all. It's only some XML databases and some file system storage, which is quite not so usual. So firstly, I saw that they have a general path traversal prevention mechanism, and in general, they're trying like to sanitize every variable that you can input. There is an easy bypass because they are like trying to remove path traversal characters, and later in the process, they're trying to remove pipes, so you can just like use pipe slash, and it will be transformed to pipe to dot slash. So there is like an easy bypass of the mechanism to prevent path traversal. So I decided to have a look for some path traversal issues. I found pretty easily vulnerabilities that allow me to delete all the files in a directory, but it wasn't reachable, but because it checked for a specific directory on the app that was never used anywhere, so there is no way to create that directory. But I found an arbitrary directory creation, which is generally something that is quite useless, but for that case, it was quite useful for me, so I created the directory that was needed to reach the directory empty vulnerability. So cool, I can delete files in directories, but come on, that's not useful. I'm definitely not wanting to deface their website. That's definitely not the goal. So I had a check, and in the Weblication / grid 5 directory, there is a .htaccess file. That's the only file there. But in the subdirectories, there is like all the databases, all the XML databases there. The only mechanism of protection there is the .htaccess file. So maybe we can just remove the .htaccess file so we can access the XML databases then. For some reason, I don't know why, but they decided to name all the XML databases with a .php extension. That's quite a strange decision, but I found that the login logs database is containing the session token for all users there, so I can just read it. That's an authentication bypass. That's a win. No, it works locally. It doesn't work remotely. I have like internal server error everywhere, so I was quite in despair. I was crying a bit. So my guess was so Worklink was using PHP short tags, so it clashed with XML open tags. So the system was thinking that the XML file was some PHP. It broke because of some syntax error, and so just through internal server errors. So definitely didn't work. I decided to go and search other vulnerabilities. I found a pre-auth RCE there, but it failed again for the exact same reason, so I cried a bit again. And I found something that was maybe interesting, but quite lame. I didn't see the impact at first. I found an XML injection in the locked user database. So pretty much the same. It's also PHP extension in the same directories. So the injection is on the username, and that's like the database that contains if a username is blocked by the system. So if you're trying to log in with a specific username more than 3 times and the login is failed, you're like injected in that specific database. So there is a XML injection there. Okay, not so useful. I can block arbitrary users maybe, but yeah, quite lame. So I did have a check on how the XML database are passed by the application. I saw that the developers did that quite well. They decided to add some layers of protection, trying to prevent XInclude by calling dump document XInclude function with a false parameter. No luck for them. Thanks PHP, it enabled XInclude instead, so definitely not what they wanted. So for those that don't know, XInclude is a XML feature that allows to include other XML or even not XML documents into the current one. So it's like exactly like PHP include, but for XML. So trying to put that username will definitely add an XInclude directive that will load the login logs database into the blocked users database. That's a notation for XInclude directive. That's a bit complicated, but yeah, definitely the impact there is like we can just include the entire login logs database into the blocked user database. But yeah, XInclude is doing their best to like reformat or modify to be a fully valid XML. You can't really break the file by using XInclude, which is quite good. It's doing like automatic correction and things like that. But no, that's still useless. I mean, yeah, I can include the database into another, but that's quite useless. But I tried to see how the logged users feature is working, and I found a blind XPath injection. So in the username is if you inject some XPath notation, you have an injection there. So you can definitely extract the entire log database. And I guess you see what the interest there. We can inject the content of other database in the log database, and then we can like exfiltrate it. So the log database, yes, I already said that. But so we can choose a blind XPath injection. We can exfiltrate session token byte per byte. That gave me admin takeover on the application, and that time in the admin panel there is like feature to get RCEs. So this time is a win. It works remotely. So the chain was log user with XML injection in the username plus the XInclude directive pointing to the XML logs, exfiltrate it with XPath injection, get admin session, get RCE, and let's go for a demo. So we can see there on the right that the block database is empty. Now we try to log in with X to see that just the block database is now filled with 1 and 3 for the X user. We now try to inject some XML to see if there is an XML injection there. And yes, it is. There is now a foobar attribute in the block entry. So that time we were using the payload that we saw before with the XInclude directive, trying to include the login logs in the block database. So yeah, I just saw that the login log contains some session stuff there. So we make that user with the payload to be blocked. We can see that our XInclude directive is now there in the file of the blocked database. We make another random user to be blocked, so the file will be parsed again, and this time there's like the entire login log database in that block database. So this time it was completely replaced by the original login logs file. So now we can try to use the XPath injection. So we're like targeting a log element, trying to exfiltrate the session. We're checking if it begins by a L. We know it is because we can see that on the right screen. So if it begins by a L, we should receive that the account is blocked. But if we check if it's backed by X, we receive that no user is found. So we have an oracle to leak the characters one by one. So I write a little script. And yeah, it definitely leaks the session token character by character. So yeah, we got an admin account through that and get RCE remotely. For that, Swisscom decided to pay me $3,000. So $2,500 for the bug, $500 for the bonus for the nice chain. And also the editor decided to reward me with $2,000. They didn't have a bug bounty, but they were like impressed by the bug, so pretty cool from them. So now let's switch to yet another customer, another Swiss one, so Swiss Post. I'm not sure I need to explain what is Swiss Post. Pretty standard. They are like the postal office in Switzerland, but they are also a private company doing a lot of different things. They are like involved in a lot of major projects in Switzerland, like e-voting. They're also very active in cybersecurity. They like bought a lot of local cybersecurity companies. So they are like very active in the cybersecurity stuff in Switzerland. They decided to start a bug bounty in 2019, especially for their e-voting platform, and they decided to add assets over time. So that's a super fair team. They're pretty good, pretty much the same as Swisscom, to be honest. We can have a lot of communication with them. They're pretty good. And yeah, if some people are from the voting village, go on their bug bounty programs, they are paying like $230K for a very critical bug there. That's definitely a good program. I'm not a crypto guy, so I'm not going that. Maybe you are. So if you want to have a check, everything is described on their VDP page, so vdp.post.ch. So for the first bug, I will talk about their payment system. So they have like their own payment system, completely custom. Everything is quite common. You get some sign requests. There's a lot of different endpoints for failure and success. And also you can stack money on your account, on your postal account. You have a balance system. So it's always interesting if we can get like infinite money there. I will switch this back because we have some time issue. Let's go on the second one. So I did find a lot of stuff there, so I was hacking on them. And I was trying to manipulate some payment session there, changing price in a transaction, a lot of things. But a delivery man rang the doorbell in my office, so I need to cut the package, seeing everything. I decided that was the time for a coffee break. And then after maybe 10, 15 minutes, I don't know, got back to my chair, and I had some money coming from nowhere on my account, so I had no idea why. So I decided to replay everything I did. I was like, probably I triggered something and I didn't even know. So I tried to replay everything, so that failed. No idea what happened. So I did to replay everything, including the coffee break. That was maybe the main point. So I did a coffee break with a colleague, and there was, my account was credited again. So I was like, okay, what the fuck? I tested a lot of things. And the real explanation is when you run the transaction, after the transaction is timed out, so you didn't make the payment in the good time frame, it's just considered successful. So probably a bad check of payment states. It default to success instead of defaulting to a failure. So yeah, let's go for a demo. So let's buy a very good croissant because I'm French. Oh, that's not a good demo. Another crescent, a bigger one. Let's go for it. Just wait. Just go grab a coffee, maybe. Are you patient enough? Oh, yeah. No, joking, it will just last. Yeah, success payments just by waiting. I mean, pretty cool solution to get some money, right? So I was paid $3,000 for that. That's probably the most I get for like a coffee break or two. Definitely was quite profitable, right? So let's go to another project of them. They have like a subdomain using a very, very unknown CMS. So Peppershop, that's like a Swiss PHP CMS. They also do some managed hosting and things like that. I never heard of them. So I decided once again to buy a license of the CMS so I get access to the code. Once again, it's PHP, so I'm super interested by that. And I just had a look at the code. Everything was quite, PHP. So I saw that an admin feature that is quite interesting is a restore backup thing. It's some like custom things. They decided that the delimiter between SQL queries will be that stuff. No idea why. Why don't you use like semicolon like everyone do? I don't know. They decided it is. And they also have some features I don't know why, because I didn't see any occurrences where they are using that, but they do. So if you use the base64 start and the base64 end tags, that will be replaced by a single quoted string of the base64 decoded string that is between the tag. I don't know why. That's quite a strange feature, to be honest. So the restore backup, the restore feature is using backup from a local file system that needs to be generated from the CMS backup feature. So you can't upload anything or something like that. So my goal was maybe I can inject SQL queries in backup from the front end. The method is exploiting the very strange passing to break SQL contexts. So my idea is if I use those specific separator or tags in some data that is stored in the database, that will be stored in the database, maybe when they will back up and restore again, that will break something if I get some data with those tags, maybe on my profile, on my, I don't know, username, name, other comments, or things like that. The first problem is most fields are sanitized by default. That's like a global sanitization that is done on every field. So no new lines, no hash, no special characters in general. And the second problem is that if the restore fail on one SQL query, it's like ending the process and not going further in the file. I mean, for the first problem, the solution is quite easy. Most fields are sanitized, but not all. There are like exceptions. One of them are like comments that are put on the others, so I can definitely reach that field on the front end. And the second problem, we have like a separator between queries and way to inject single code. So that should be possible to get like a valid file after injecting things. So let's imagine a valid SQL query in the file format. So we control fully the values of Bemerkugen. I have no idea what it means, but that's the name of the database, of the table. I have no idea what it is. So we can control that fully, and you can see the separator at the end. So we're trying to use their base64 feature to break from single quotes. So we're trying to get something like that. that will be transformed to that. So we inject a single quote, a parenthesis, a comment, and that is working pretty well, to be honest. So then my goal is to inject new queries in the packet file. So this time I'm also adding a separator and a new query with a comment at the end. So after being passed by the restore procedure, that will give that. And that's definitely valid. So I was able to just inject an update to an arbitrary table, changing arbitrary column there, pretty good. So the impact is I can run arbitrary queries on the restore process. If they take a backup and restore, that will run my queries. Pretty good, but the database is obviously that's PHP, storing some serialized PHP objects, because, you know, relational databases is done for that, storing full objects. So I found pretty fastly a custom gadget that allows to delete local files. Once again, not the most interesting primitive for us, because that's definitely not a goal to delete files on them. But I saw that the admin authentication mechanism is just a .htaccess file, so that's just a basic authentication system. So if we delete the .htaccess file, everyone can go to /admin and admin, just that. There's no authentication beside that. So just like you need either valid credential or you need to bypass a .htaccess. The payload is too big for the screen, I'm sorry. So let's get a demo for this one. Once again, super croissant shop. So we put the payload in the order commands. You can see the payload there, it's pretty big. It's just trying to update the order table and set a big serialized object in the data of the orders. So now my user have like an order with or tags or basically for tags. So let's go to an administrator account. Let's do a backup. Yeah, that's a fail. Let's go to the backup. Let's log in. So let's do a backup and now trying to restore it. No, not before restoring it. We can see in the order that we have like our data that is injected in the order. So now trying to restore, that's definitely not the same data. We were able to update the order and add like a serialized object that definitely have a path traversal to the htaccess file. So let's go see the order that triggered the serialized objects. And now we can go to the admin panel and there is no more authentication on it. So yeah, that definitely deleted the htaccess. So everyone is admin, which is, to be honest, a bit frightening, because like by exploiting that, I gave everyone admin access. Oops. So they paid me $650, which is quite bad. But the real thing is that SwissPost is not using the backup and restore feature because they have too much data, and the official backup feature there is just crashing because there is too much data. You know, like problem of memory issues and things like that. That's even fair. They decided to pay a bounty for that because there are like no chance they are using the backup and restore features there. So yeah, still quite fair. Let's go on another customer, the most known one, Redacted. I wasn't able to name them, so let's consider that we just put a bit of context. Imagine a PHP CMS, once again PHP, widely used with a lot of complex code, complex features, and a little blacklist scrutinizing the code at every release, every time. So first bug, there is a new CV there. That's a pre-auth RCE through a SSTI in the wild, like used by a threat actor. So the maintainers decided to make an emergency patch. I decided to reverse it, obviously. So there is like a double level of templating on the app. And the patch from the maintainers was just a break replace to remove the tags just after a single evaluation of the templates. The problem is, maybe someone saw that? You saw that, I know. The regex is not matching new lines. That means that you can just use the original payload, but use a new line before the closing tags. You're bypassing that regex, and that's like a pre-auth RCE again. That was paid $10,000 because, you know, pre-auth RCE are always cool. And small bonus, my colleague also found another bypass. You just had to not close the tags. So that was enough. Templates will contain some tags, ending tags later. So yeah, that also bypass it. So another second bug, and I'm sorry, this one will be quite complex. I will try my best to explain it correctly, but yeah, that's a complex one. So I found a bug that is, to be honest, barely exportable, but it's super fun technically. So the worst impact to it was pre-auth RCE, but the precondition of it make it quite unlikely, but yeah, it's still a fun one. So for the context, that application was using Laminas PHP library for everything that is using like emails. Laminas is doing a lot of checks and transformation to be sure that the email is valid and things like that. There's like a lot of different libraries there. And on the application we're testing, we have control over a from header that will be used for sending some emails. So that from header will be passed over the fifth argument of mail. For those who know, mail function have a fifth argument that is like arguments that will be passed to the send mail binary. So if that fifth argument is completely controlled by an attacker, you can have like argument injection to the send mail binary. There are like known exploits to that, but it definitely depends on the MTA that is used. So every MTA is shipped with different send mail binaries. So for this talk, we will consider send mail MTA here. That's like a first precondition. Why send mail? Because I'm cheating. That's my bug. I decide whatever is the condition. So that's what I want to be. So the problem is Laminas validating email address. We can't like put anything that is not a valid email address. Laminas is supporting a quoted string format, so double quotes and pretty much anything. Or dot atom format, that's like the standard email format. For that, they are using super big regex. That was super hard to read. And yeah, the thing is, they're also using escape shell arg on the email before being used on the mail function. But PHP is automatically applies escape shell command to the entire command when calling mail. That will apply escape shell command to send mail. Double escape means no escape at all, means argument injection, thanks PHP. So another problem is Laminas or the application, I don't know. is lowercasing your email, and every exploit for send mail are generally using the C and the X uppercase arguments with very long paths. And the other problem is we are limited to 64 characters for the local parts. And definitely, if you need like long paths for 2 arguments, that's definitely not cool because we're like limited in size. Painful. I was like a bit in despair. I was pretty sure that won't be exportable at all. But yeah, I still decided to make like hours of testing. I was pretty much like that after a few years. But at some point, I saw that there was like a strange error if my email contains right angle brackets. So if I put XSX right angle bracket at black.is, I received by the app invalid domain black.is right bracket. I was like, that's strange. That's definitely not the domain I put in my mail. So I decided to debug a bit the behavior. So Laminas did the validation of the email. Laminas and the app were crafting a full email with the headers and the body and put to email in the from header. Then Laminas parsed the generated email. Then the app is extracting the sender again from it, validates that it's still a valid email. So painful process. So I was like, okay, but that doesn't explain the error. So that's a traditional from header. So it's just double quotes your name, double quotes, and in brackets, the full email. But when I tried to inject XXX, right brackets, at black.is, that was like the from that was generated. So we have like an injection in the email part, but that's quite useless, in my opinion. There was like no CRLF, there was like protection and mechanism to prevent that. So I was like, okay, that's definitely useless. But I decided to like investigate because that's quite a dirty thing still. So yeah. I read a lot of RFC, a lot of documentation, and I saw there's like something called MIME encoded words. So that's described by the RFC 2047. That's for using special characters in email headers and body. That's the format, so equal-sign, interrogation point, char sets, encoding, and then you can use like literal characters using their hexadecimal code with equal sign. So in that case, that like generate AAA. So all the characters that is used in the MIME encoded words notation are also valid characters in an email address, at least in the double quote encoded formats. So I was like, maybe I can inject MIME encoded words in my sender email. So that will be put in the mail headers, and when extracted back by Laminas, it will like pass the MIME encoded words and generate an email that will maybe contain some parameter injection to send mail. So I needed some spaces to like inject another argument to send mail, but equal 20 is forbidden by the specification of the RFC, but I found that underscore is defined as a space by the RFC, so we can just input spaces by using an underscore. Don't ask me why, there's probably a reason for that. So as we saw, the send mail payload is always needing to point to a local configuration file, so we need to have a control of a malicious local file. Fortunately for us, the CMS have a NOS file upload, so we can upload files there. The problem is the upload folder contains underscore, but underscore are replaced by spaces. But we can replace underscore by equal 5F characters, so that's a problem, but not so much. The problem is we need a lot of replacement character, and the size limitation is still 64 characters. And the minimum encoded words increase the size of a string by quite a lot. So let's consider that a web root is /app. That's short. That's definitely what I need. So I'm still cheating again. So that's another precondition. The first one is you need sendmail to be used, and you need a short web root. So yeah, that's quite some strong precondition. So I knew that sendmail payload are using the C and the X arguments. That's definitely too long for us. So I was like, okay, the C argument is loading arbitrary config file. Maybe that's enough to RCE. Maybe we don't need the X argument. So I decided to focus on that and see what is possible through a sendmail config file. So in the config file, you have like the path to the dead letter file. So the dead letter is like where it will log like incidents in sending emails. So maybe we can like put a file that will be in the web roots and have maybe a file write, but we don't control anything in the mail. And there is also a bound second recipient in that config file that will be included in the dead letter, because that will like you have an email that is failed, but then it will try to send to that second recipient, and it will write that in the dead letter file. So maybe we can have arbitrary file writes, or at least a partial arbitrary file write, but that's PHP. So if I have just a partial file write, that would be enough to get a valid PHP file. So I just sent a default sendmail MTA config and the two option to get arbitrary file write, and that was sufficient. So then I'm sending the mail to not existent at localhost, so it fails. So that will bounce. So that are the config that I was using. So I decided to have a look at the minimum encoded words and trying to like reduce the size of it. I was able to win some size, like you can just empty the car set. There is no need of filling it. We need double quotes around the payloads because the email need to be valid, and you need to use a double quoted format. Don't ask me why, but we needed to end it with 2 double quotes. I have no idea, that's magic. I didn't investigate that. So we can definitely use the uppercase later now because we have the minimum encoded words. So 64 cars is still too short, but with the precondition of having a short web root and everything that just enter exactly the 64 characters, so it's upload pass, and the final payload was just that. Don't ask me why, that's some magic. Definitely some magic payload. I have now a t-shirt, but it's in my hotel room with a payload printed on it. Yeah, that's quite a unusual payload, and it is to pre-auth RCE on that app in very specific conditions. So yeah, that was just setting the file we uploaded into sendmail command, injecting a new config file for sendmail, get arbitrary write, some PHP in the web app, get RCE, works only on sendmail MTA, web root being short, so I cheated a bit. But yeah, you need some stars to exploit that. So definitely not really exportable in the wide, but still was quite fun technically. So let's go for a demo. The last one. Once again, the Crescent shop. I'm just uploading the sendmail MTA default config file with just like or do 2 config keys. Yeah, doing the upload manually, sorry, it takes a bit of time. So yeah, you can see that I'm putting the dead letter in the /app/backdoor.php with a double bounce address containing a payload. So yeah, now the config file is uploaded. We can just run the payload in the from email. That's exactly the payload from the slides. We're sending that to a localhost address that doesn't exist, so that should throw an error. We see that the page is completely blank because that generated an error. So now we can go to the /backdoor.php. We can see the editor there, and I did add some backdoor there, and we get arbitrary PHP execution. So definitely quite cool. So that was paid $5,000, despite the fact that it was hardly exploitable. It made me cry a bit. I spent a lot of time on it. So I hope your brain fried exactly like me. And that's my end word. So thanks for having listened to the end. Hope you had fun. Hope you learned some things. And also, I will maybe soon open a blog with a lot of my bugs. There's like 100 of them. So yeah, follow me on Twitter if you want some news. And thank you.